Hello and welcome to therapy session number 3046. Real Madrid are eliminated from the Champions League. We got a lot to talk about. Lucas Navarrete is going to join me in about 90 seconds to break down Real Madrid's elimination and also get into big picture stuff. So it's a big episode tonight. We do have to give we are honored to give rather shout out to our presenting sponsors, Moji Mates. Today we're rocking Fede Valverde. As you can see on the screen, if you want your favorite player on a shirt, go to moji-mates.com. I know there's a lot of Arsenal people on the stream. There are also Arsenal players that you can get on your shirt. Go to moji-mates.com, moji-mates.com. Also, shout out to our presenting sponsor, TAC Sports. You can see the logo behind me. TAFC Academy is in Toronto. They are hands down the best academy to sign up your kids, whether it's football camps, basketball camps, swimming camps for the summer, or just regular clinics, weekly training sessions. They are the best, hands down, in Toronto. Go to tacsports.ca. All right, let's bring in Lucas and break down that shit show and Real Madrid's very not remontada performance.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Welcome to the Managing Madrid podcast. Real Madrid 1, Arsenal 2, 5-1 on aggregate, a deserved elimination. Congratulations to Arsenal. Lucas, so many hype videos over the past week. Posts on IG, posts on social media. I lost count of how many videos Real Madrid put out about believing and highlight reels from the previous years. And we rolled up to this. 4 shots on target, on the brink of elimination, 0 ideas. I just ran through the math quickly. This is off the top of my head. I didn't go through every single big game, but this is just off the top of my head. In the games against Arsenal, Barcelona, Liverpool, and Milan, against those 4 teams, we've been outscored 19-4 combined. This team is not good. It's not a good team. It needs a huge reality check. The remontada was based on a pure fairy tale. It was based on aura. It was based on hype videos and highlight reels of Joselu and Cristiano Ronaldo and Sergio Ramos. And it was not based on reality. Arsenal were levels above Real Madrid. We didn't even come close. They picked up every single pass. They comfortably kicked the ball around. It was not close. This was a deserved elimination. And we have to go back to the drawing board and think about how to improve this moving forward, because that's a big discussion we have. We cannot keep hiding behind these bad performances and patting ourselves on the back and thinking everything's going to be okay. And we have a whole season left still. We got to play Barcelona twice. I have no idea how that's going to end. I'm going to guess. I have my guesses, as I'm sure you do, and as I'm sure the listeners do. So, Lucas, please take over, because I'm going to pop some blood vessels if I keep talking.
Reality check, as you mentioned, is much needed reality check for a club who were relying on miracles, bad football, poor coaching, as I mentioned after the first leg, for way too long. This was well overdue. As you mentioned, the game itself maybe isn't that embarrassing. What makes it embarrassing to me is the fact that, again, you somehow managed to engage every single fan, even the non-believers, towards thinking that, this was possible and that the players and that the whole team was up for it. And I believe that in terms of their passion, their effort, their heart, they were up for it, but definitely not football-wise. The plan, no tactical ideas, no plan on the field. I would go as far as saying that no preparation, no tactical preparation for the game whatsoever. No tactical plan, no ideas from the coaching staff to attack and kind of trying to expose this Arsenal team a little bit more. So nothing to complain about in terms of the effort, and the heart displayed on the field. Yeah, it was there. They tried. In terms again of pure effort and heart and courage. Today that wasn't the issue, but no tactical ideas, no plan, and no preparation from the whole team, from the coaching staff, the assistant coaches, the players. Even in terms of the players could have had some ideas into how to attack this team. So the blame should be shared, and a well overdue reality check.
I mean, the plan really was to put Rudiger as a striker and get Lucas Vasquez to put some crosses in. And, you know, this was a really weird one to watch because it was the first time all season that we had no choice but to put the foot on the pedal. And for that reason, even if I didn't necessarily believe we would come back, I was at least intrigued of the idea since we have absolutely no choice but to give everything we have in the tank to fight and also to attack without because as you know, my dad always texts me during every game, and after Real Madrid score, he gets mad. He's like, they're going to stop attacking. Watch, they're going to defend, and they play like shit after they score. This was the first time all season where it was like, okay, they have no choice. They're down 3 goals. They have zero choice. They have to attack. And I was like, at least intrigued like what that looks like because we haven't seen that urgency all season. Apart from the Clásicos and some of those games I mentioned earlier on that we had to chase the game, but in those games we were just so lost and so beaten down that we did nothing. And this game we were from the get go we were down, so we tried to attack, and I just have questions that are really unanswerable, but they're just kind of like these rhetorical questions in some way. But when I saw the starting lineup, Lucas. The big talking point or the big like the shrug of the shoulders was that we had Vasquez and Alaba starting as the fullbacks, and I thought, okay, like, well, Fede needs to play midfield. I get it. I still
I
wouldn't
don't,
have.
but okay.
No, that's just you know what like it's not my decision. It's the rationale behind it, right? I think Vasquez should not be on the field in any game like this. And actually, I just want to
Alaba neither,
reiterate.
but okay.
Yeah, Alaba either. I just want to, but I at this. Okay, one sec.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm
too
just
emotional to do this
interrupting you.
podcast. I can't do it. No, it's not your fault. No, I'm just too emotional to do this podcast. I just want to reiterate because I know you're on the same page as me on this. I'm not mad at Lucas Vasquez. He actually fought well tonight and he did his best. My confusion was this. If the plan was the whole time to just put Fede back there anyway and have Vasquez as the right winger, because that's essentially what that entire first half was. Fede Valverde was playing deeper than Vasquez. Vasquez was playing like as a right CM, pushing up high and just pumping crosses in. And I thought, like if Fede is going to play right back anyway, why not just replace Vasquez with someone who can actually do damage from that position in attack, like Brahim? If you want to get really funky, Goulier or maybe whatever. Brahim would have been the most logical one. Or you put an extra midfielder, maybe Modric. Now, look, to be clear, no matter what Ancelotti would have done tonight in terms of lineups, it was over. So it's in that sense, who cares? But this is like more of a big picture discussion. With Alaba left back, he had no prayer in stopping Saka. He got booked early. A few minutes later, Saka cut inside him with ease and took a shot. And so, Lucas, to me, this season is worse than 2018, 2019.
No question.
And that was one of the worst I can remember. And you agree, obviously. I can see that you agree. The reason why this one was worse was because that year, at least there was some kind of understanding that it's a transition year. Cristiano Ronaldo was gone. We have
somehow you didn't replace him, which is
it's like
different
Vinicius
discussion, but okay.
First year, he's like first he's playing with Castilla, Solari calls him up. It's just a weird year. There's like a dip from the World Cup. This year, we signed Mbappe 2 days after winning the Champions League. The expectations were so high, and I know we lost Cruz and Nacho and Joselu and all this, but like this team didn't give us shit this season. They got played off the park against every single good team they came up against. It clearly was not good enough. Arsenal were levels above Real Madrid. Barcelona have been levels above Real Madrid. Liverpool were levels above Real Madrid. And this team is not good enough. So you have to go back to the drawing board this summer. And that's another podcast. It's not for tonight, but you have to go back to the drawing board this summer because this team it was just shambolic to see. It's a team that lacked ideas. They didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know what to do with the ball. They didn't know what to attack. Meanwhile, Arsenal just so well drilled. Everything was effortless. They always had positionally, they were superior. They pounced on loose balls first because they were in position to do so. Their passing triangles, they always had outlets off the ball. And defensively, they just looked unbothered, like they barely broke a sweat.
Completely agree. I tweeted immediately after the final whistle, that this is one of the most depressing Real Madrid teams I can think of. I could understand a worse Real Madrid team with worse talent on the field. Again, we talked about this like a few weeks ago, I think. I can understand a team with Pablo Garcia, Graves, and Heinze not playing, Emerson not playing well and not delivering a good product during the season. I cannot understand how a Champions League winning team from last year, which, as you mentioned, also added Mbappe, while also losing Kroos, admittedly. But I feel like, the deep and the difference, the discrepancy between what was happening on the field a year ago versus what's happening and what's happened this season shouldn't be as big as it is. I think there's a complete lack of preparation from the coaching staff. The Lucas Vázquez point, I refuse to blame him. He's just washed, and for some reason Ancelotti keeps trusting him. It's just baffling to me. I don't. If you need Valverde on the in the I mean, like Vasquez cannot play, period. But if you need Valverde in the middle because you really believe Ceballos cannot play more than 30 minutes, Ceballos was rusty. I can admit that. And Modric isn't ready to start. Just start Fortea, man. It's just what you did with Asensio earlier in the season because you just have to do it. Would Fortea be that worse than Lucas Vázquez? I feel he should not be. Lucas Vázquez is just unplayable, and that's not his fault. It's the coach's fault for putting him on the field. And he played with effort today, and effort has not been a problem tonight. It's just the matter of, this team it's just not good enough, which is amazing for me to say considering the talent they have on the roster. The roster is thin. The roster has its flaws. These rosters should play way better than they've been playing all season long, man. Way, way better. I'm not saying the lack of depth isn't hurting the team. It definitely has its own flaws in terms of the way the squad was built. But there's no excuse for playing this kind of football 8 months into the season, man. It's just no excuse I can think of.
Yeah. I mean, even some of the other previous iterations of this team of Real Madrid that have played poorly all season, then gotten it together. They usually got it together around March. I mean, we're April 16th. Like the fact that even like in minute 80 of the second leg on April 16th, when you need to come back, if you had to come back then, it's like, what does that even mean? You how late are you going to put it? You just going to wake up for 10 minutes maybe after 7 months and put something together? It just doesn't make sense. Let's really think about what we're saying with this remontada bullshit. And I'm sorry, like I don't mean to like shit on our history and like all the remontadas we had, but there is also a reason why we came back in those remontadas. Like we came back in those situations because we actually did have glimpses of good football. We had leaders like Benzema in those years. We've had leaders like Sergio Ramos. And last year we actually had like 3-4 months of actually good football.
I believe, Kian, sorry for interrupting here. I believe that also Ancelotti has kind of lost his voice inside this dressing room. I'm just reading this quote from Courtois right now. This is a direct quote. I'm translating, but, we cross the ball a lot, but this year we don't have Joselu. Pretty straightforward quote from a player who seems to believe that, this coaching staff has lost it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can kind of see the agitation between the players
Yeah,
and the coach
definitely,
as well on the
definitely,
sidelines. You saw it with
definitely.
Jude at the Emirates. You've seen it with
Yep.
Vinny. I think
The Camavinga's red card,
yeah, the
Mbappe's red card the other day. Plenty of signs of frustration. Yeah.
the unity and the power of friendship, we did not have any of that
No,
this season.
no, no.
And I also just want to go back to this Lucas Vasquez point, not to pile on him more, but to actually reverse Uno the Vasquez pylon, because it's not his fault again. And it actually, to me, because you just mentioned Fortea, and I've been mentioning Fortea for months, and it could be Aguado even because Fortea is actually a level below Aguado in terms, even though he's more talented. But no matter if you had Vasquez or Brahim or Rodrigo or Camavinga or Modric or Fede or Fortea, these problems are persisting and festering. So that to me also points to the coach, because no matter who you put on the field, like so much conversation. Like someone asked me before the game, do you think it's better to have four midfielders or three attackers? So like, would you take Rodrigo out and put like Modric in, for example, or Ceballos in, right? Or like not even just about today, but just in general, right? And my answer is like, who cares? Because we
It
play like
makes no
shit no
difference.
matter what.
Correct.
Yeah, no
Correct.
matter what, we play like
Correct.
shit. You can play with
Correct.
good. You can play good with four midfielders and two attackers, or play good with three attack. Like it doesn't
Correct.
matter what our formation is. It doesn't matter what
Correct.
who is on the field. We suck no matter what. So
I'll
that
go
has
as
to
far
point
as
to the
saying
coach.
that Real Madrid are playing with no formation. It's not that it doesn't matter. It's just the team has no structure, no formation on the field. It's just pass the ball to whoever is open and try to make something out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so uh, yeah, that's pretty much where I am. I mean, like I'd be curious to know what you think. I don't think that the squad needs a huge overhaul or like this massive renovation, but I think it needs about three clear upgrades. It needs a new coach with new ideas. Because it's there's not really much else you can do that would make sense to me. But you need two new wing backs. You need to sign a center back. You need a new manager, and you can start talking about the controller guy if you want someone, because Ceballos is injured half the season every season, and you can't really
Right.
rely on that.
Right.
I don't know if you need to necessarily sign a Joselu type player off the bench, but I think you can start grooming Endrick a little bit more and grow him into the team. Maybe Goulier can develop into a deeper role. Maybe Nico Paz can come back and develop into a deeper role. All these options are on the table. Maybe a new coach uses Jude Bellingham as more of a controller. So there's all these options. But I hate to bring in the arch rivals, but Barca are a good test case that pretty much the same squad with fresh ideas can play way better football, and that's what's happening over there.
It
So
happens in every sport. That
yeah,
happens in every single sport. You saw it in the NBA with Cleveland Cavaliers as well. No significant upgrades to the roster, and just replacing a coach with a brilliant tactical mind just changes everything. And Barcelona is just another great example. They at least they are playing with a clear idea of what they want to do on the field and how they should approach every game in order to maximize their chances of winning. Obviously, then maybe the lack of talent can take you so far, and maybe they are not quite ready to win the Champions League, although they're obviously there. But yeah, just a single replacement in the coaching department could make a significant improvement into the product we see game in and game out.
I think going back to what you were saying about the plan, and then you read Courtois' quote.
Hmm.
I think basically the plan was you get the ball out wide and put 5, 6 of your biggest players in the box. Like Rudiger spent a lot of time in Arsenal's box. Bellingham was trying to crash the box. Tchouaméni was trying to crash the box,
Right.
and just hope for chaos and rebounds. I think essentially is what happening, and the rare transition
Right.
opportunity. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Lucas. Maybe you saw
Hmm.
it better than I did, and I have an unnecessary amount of tactical notes from this game that I don't even think I'll ever use. But there was like two transition attacks I can really remember. Um, Mbappe and Vinny had a couple like early on, And then there was one in the second half where Vinny could have played Mbappe through quickly, but he kind of decides to hold on to it. Um, yeah. Do we want to go through all of the player performances and what we thought? Do we? Would you agree that like I didn't have necessarily an issue with the fight of the players today? I think they worked hard,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
was just
I
clear
agree.
that they were not on Arsenal's level, which is a crazy thing to say, but it's true.
I agree. I agree. The effort was there for I was going to say for the most part, really for the 90 minutes. The effort was there. The
Yeah.
tactical issues were the problem. I don't know which players you can actually rescue from this game. Courtois would be a one of them, obviously. And then Vinicius, I guess, even though he wasn't that brilliant. Chouameni was good. I thought Chouameni was pretty good.
He had a couple of really important defensive challenges. I think Asensio
Yeah,
was outside of the penalty he caused was good.
yeah. So
Um,
yeah, those are the names that come to mind when you're trying to find the most highlighted players from Real Madrid's team tonight.
I do think that it was actually really impressive to see the way Arsenal defended and their shape behind the ball and
Mm.
how easily they sucked out passing lanes. Even their press, like we just looked kind of lost. We were circulating and we're trying to find an escape route. Their counter press was very good. I was impressed with Odegaard. It was
Very good. Yeah,
bittersweet watching him play and control
yeah,
things. And I
yeah.
I thought like on the goal they scored on Saka's goal, their first goal.
Hmm.
I don't even remember the second goal now because it was just like who cares at that point? It was over.
Yeah,
But
sure.
the first goal, Odegaard was just allowed way too much time and space on the ball. And I was looking at that sequence and I think Jude should have recognized and tracked Odegaard. I do think there was a lot of just hoping that someone would put out the fire defensively.
Right.
Our tracking wasn't great and it was a lot of kind of individual heroics on defense as well, just trying to put out fires. And I just didn't really see again a coherent plan. I just didn't see it. Andrew came on in the 60. I'll just flip through my notes and then we'll do super chat and you can
Yeah,
kind of flip through your notes as well.
sure.
Endrick comes on in the second half. His first touch in the 64th minute is like a shot attempt from like 80 yards with like no space to shoot. And then 2 seconds later, he's getting on the end of a header. He had a big chance later on in the game. I love it. I love the chaos. I love his
You
mad
need it.
decision making. I just like that he cares and seems to have the effort and doesn't shy away from the occasion. I like that. This is more of a future point. Obviously, it doesn't really have anything to do with today and for the season, but I like his fight. I want more of Endrick next season. And I think overall, I don't mean to turn this into like a season reflection before it's over, but I love what I've seen obviously from Asensio. I think he'll polish
Hmm.
some of those kind of more aggressive plays, but
Hmm.
um, I think I want to see Bellingham in a new role next season that's more defined and less chaotic to get the best
Hmm.
out of him.
Hmm.
I think Chouameni in the second half of the season was much better than he was in the first half of the season.
Hmm.
I think we need to come up with more clever ways of escaping pressure, and that comes down to better positional play. We need to work on our press and our defensive shape because Mbappe is not going anywhere for the next few years. So you cannot like sell him or like try to come up with like better defensive solutions without him. He's a superstar you just signed and he's not going anywhere. So you have to make it work with him. And I think you can work with him, make it work with him, but you need someone with fresh ideas. Um, Vinny tonight, poor offensively, did fight defensively, did press Saliba into the mistake for the goal. He needs to come back stronger next season. Fede fighting like crazy. He had in the 59th minute his first ball carry in transition, and it's unstoppable. No one can take it off him. We've seen that like maybe 5 times this entire season, even though that's one of his best strengths.
Yeah.
New coach needs to come in and maximize Fede's ball carrying sequences and getting into those attacking positions. Alaba, try to move that contract if you can. I know it's easier said than done. Vasquez cannot be renewed. Um,
Rodrigo. The fact that
Before.
you skipped Rodrigo maybe says a lot about the fact that yeah,
Rodrigo, I've skipped Rodrigo a lot because he's just anonymous, man. Like he's
yeah,
just not
a
there.
ghost.
He
Yep.
has he 1 month of the season, he has one scoring streak. He scores like 7 goals in the month, and then nothing from him for months. I get
I'll be
that he
honest.
works hard
I would sell him too.
defensively. That's not lost on me, but that trait of working hard defensively is not hard to find. You need
Yep.
someone who can produce offensively.
I will. I'll be honest. I'm ready to sell him too.
I
I
did.
think
I didn't say sell him, but you.
I
But
would.
I mean, I
He's
wouldn't say sell, but
he's
he's
basically
better than
playing
him.
like 2016 version of Lucas Vazquez right now, offering hard work as an attacker. As you mentioned, it's pretty easy to replace. He's offering to me. He's offering completely like nothing better than what Brian would do on the field. I believe it's time.
Do we before we get into super chats? Do we have any thoughts on I don't know the penalty stuff or do we skip it or?
I hate it. I don't know why he decided to call the first one a penalty and then not do the same with the second one. I don't like either penalty, but he called the first one, so I don't know how the second one was treated differently. When you could even argue that Mbappe was closer to the ball than the Arsenal attacker was on their own penalty. So I do not get it. I hate VAR. I hate the way VAR has impacted football. I completely hate it. I would get rid of VAR completely, every single part of it, because the trade off and the product we get with these 10 minutes stoppages in the middle of a quote unquote remontada make no sense to me. I hate to turn this into a complaining about bar and referee when Real Madrid did not deserve to win. Like, let me be completely and really honest here.
This is a
Real,
separate point you're making.
this is it's just we're just sharing our views and our thoughts on two controversial calls, and that's it. We're not saying that Real Madrid would have won or gone through without these mistakes. What I think it's a mistake anyway. But I hate the fact that the second penalty in Real Madrid's was treated differently than the first one. It makes no sense to me.
Did you look at all of Courtois' quotes?
Alabas Courtois?
Courtois' quotes.
Oh, all of them. No,
All
no,
of
no.
them. Sorry. Yeah.
No, no, no. I just read the one,
The Joselu and the
the
crosses.
Hostel one. Yeah,
He
I
said,
have them here. Yeah,
yeah. Courtois is actually one of the rare players
pretty
around
honest.
that
Maybe too
actually
much.
is very honest and is very critical of the team usually after if something doesn't go well. But he said,
We feel we're not a team and reading right now. Yeah,
we have to be more self-critical and
yeah.
we have to make more team plays and not individual ones. If they double
Yeah.
mark Vinny or Kylian, a 1-2 can work once, but not 5 times.
Yep.
Which is
Pretty honest and straightforward and completely right, by the way.
He's not wrong. Yeah,
He's
not wrong.
definitely not wrong.
Did
Definitely
we
not
get
wrong.
Carlo quotes yet?
No, not yet.
He's probably not going to come out of the dressing room for a long time.
Yeah, for a while. Yeah.
Okay, so let's take super chats. Jeff Sowa says, Lucas, do you want? I'm going to kind of read through them. If I feel like we've talked about them, I won't necessarily touch on it, but you just
Right.
jump in whenever you want, okay? Jeff Sowa says, sell Rodrigo and Fran. Proceeds for left back and Dean. Yes or no?
Yes.
For me, it's get rid of, move on from the Mendy contract if you can. Keep Fran, bring in Miguel, and sign Dean. Keep Rodrigo. Avunu says, why is our midfield so bad? Jude and Fede are too good to be this ineffective in midfield all season. Honestly, the coaching has failed this team. I have a question for you to follow up on this question.
Yep.
If you switch, I asked this to Diego, and he was in agreement. If you switch Bellingham and Pedri this season, you put Bellingham in that Barca team, and you put Pedri in this Real Madrid team, what do you think that looks like for those two players?
Both teams are better.
That I mean, that's a good answer. I wasn't necessarily asking about that, but like my point is that like I think Pedri would look brutal in this
Yeah,
setup.
it's just what Real Madrid
Yeah,
needs.
yeah.
Just what Real Madrid needs. And I was
Oh no,
about the
no, hold
question.
on. Okay, I misunderstood what you were saying.
Okay,
No, I'm referring to the tactical setup. I'm saying that
same role. They were playing the same. They would be playing the same role. You mean?
just no, my point is you just switch them in terms of now you put Bellingham in a coherent tactical system where he thrives, and you put Pedri
Sure.
in this chaos. He's gonna
Oh
look
well,
he's gonna look completely out of sorts. That's my point.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, it
Okay.
would make it would be very tough for Pedri, and it would be easier for Bellingham to play better than he's playing in Real Madrid. But at the same time, I think that Pedri's skill set is maybe needed in this team more than Bellingham's in the sense of distribution from the back, all that. And Bellingham, I cannot be critical of Bellingham because he's carried this team for so many months. But he's about this question, I was going to say Bellingham has not played as a midfielder all season long. He's not. I was. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry to be like making or doing a victory lap here in April after such a poor game and such a poor tie against Arsenal. Overall, Bellingham has not been a midfielder this season.
So
I don't care how much he works defensively. He has not been a midfielder this season.
my point is ultimately this, that the question that Abuna was asking is correct. It's a correct concern.
Mm-hmm.
That how can a midfield that has Jude Bellingham and Fede Valverde struggle this much? And of course, Fede is not always playing midfield either. That's the other problem. Like you could argue neither of these two players are actually in the midfield to actually control things. But
The
this
midfield
goes
only features Valverde and Tchouameni. Bellingham is a secondary striker
this, but
offensively.
and this goes back to the final point of like this needs a new direction.
Yep,
This team is lost. This
definitely.
team is talented but lost.
And Ancelotti has lost it also. It's not only about tactics. This team, Ancelotti has lost his voice. You can clearly tell that.
Yeah. Anthony Tharp says cross and inshallah. It's been a while since we saw that. It's been a little hat tip to Zizou. Nishlish Patel says, I don't blame Real Madrid PR for the Remontada hype, though. They can't just keep quiet and not try to raise the spirit. Sadly, the team had nothing to deliver. Yeah, it's not like we know the Real Madrid PR people personally. We love them. It's not their fault. They're just trying to do their job and hype people up. Like but this is on the club, not
This
like
is on the club to back it up. Yeah.
yeah. Stig Olsen says, time for a real revamp. We got Mbappe. Cool. Now we need a manager with tactics that can get the best out of the team and a proper left back and right back. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Relic says, time for the old fossil to pack it up. Perez out.
It might be time for me too. My problem is who replaces him. That's my issue, obviously. I'm more afraid of the solution than I am of the problem, if you will. If I can put it that way, I'm more scared of Florentino's replacement than I am of Florentino's himself. I think he's been wonderful in the past. I also think he's kind of lost some of the plot in recent years. And the whole Bernabeu thing is a concern to me unless I see Real Madrid doing some kind of effort in the market this summer. But from what I am seeing from the reports, it doesn't seem that likely. So if you find a proper just to wrap it up, if you find a proper replacement, a reliable one, trustworthy one, which is a huge if considering the whole Real Madrid sphere, I agree with the point.
I don't need to see Florentino packing it up, but I want him to look at this entire situation and see the urgency of signing people. That's what I would want to see.
He hasn't seen it in the past. Why would he now? Urgency was the same.
Well, we did try to sign Lenny Yoro in the summertime. Couldn't. I think his biggest issue is that he got away with a lot because of our trophy cabinet in the years past.
Mhm.
We got away without replacing Benzema because of Bellingham and Joselu.
Yep, that's
We got
correct.
away with. I mean, what else have we gotten away with? I mean, a lot. I think. And Ancelotti, the man we're asking to leave, has worked some miracles with the squads he's given in the past.
Yeah, last
Historically
year
speaking,
he definitely did. Yeah, yeah,
last year, yeah. So I think part of Florentino's issue was that he saw Ancelotti and Real Madrid get away with the lack of reinforcements and thought he could just keep getting away with it. So he needs to look at the urgency of what the squad needs now.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Ramkey says this year I got a tumor removed from my head, laid off from a $250,000 annual job. But surprisingly, watching Real Madrid this season hurts more.
Well,
I think what
if that's true, it's been a rough year, man. Sorry about that.
I'm sorry to hear, Ramkey. I hope everything you recover. That's first and foremost. Real Madrid is out of your control, man. This is just more of a general message.
Don't sweat it, man. Yeah.
You guys, I know this sucks, but we Real Madrid fans have also won a lot, more than any other sports fan base in the world. You have no control over this. We have no control over this. We're just talking about it. This is therapy. Please don't get too upset about this if you can.
Yeah.
Go out tomorrow, spend time with your friends, hang out with your loved ones, go to the gym, do fun things. But Ramkey,
the players will not be depressed. Do not be depressed yourselves.
Lots of love to you, Ramkey.
Yep.
Hope
Same.
you stay healthy and recover. Coconut Skin says, I honestly lost count of how many times we put in a cross where it was blocked or headed away. How can these be the tactics with the attackers we have? Yep. And Kojorti Boroloy says, Real Madrid has no midfield. It's only defense, a big gap attack. Midfielders keep running around helplessly. Also, why cross when we have no one in the box?
Spot on.
This is the first time all season we actually did have players in the box, and then we still had zero efficiency. We were just hoping for rebounds and chaos. That was it.
Yep.
This was a really well-drilled Arsenal team. Alberto Bitar says, I'm genuinely terrified Carlo might not be sacked. What do you guys think will happen? Is his firing a matter of time? It's the most disappointing season ever.
I think it's going to be sacked, no matter what happens in the Copa del Rey.
In fact, I would predict that the Copa del Rey will be a final nail in the coffin because I don't see us winning that. Do you?
No, me neither. Me neither. But if Real Madrid can pull it off, I don't think that changes Ancelotti's future. La Liga could if Real Madrid somehow managed to win out and Barcelona drop some points here and there, and they end up winning La Liga. I wouldn't be so sure about that. But that's also very unlikely, in my opinion, even more unlikely than beating Barca in the Copa del Rey final. So I think it's gone.
I'm still not sure.
Percentages?
Based on what we've seen this season and today, he should be. What if, Lucas? What if? This is hypothetical. I don't believe this is going to happen, just to be clear. But what if he wins the league and the Copa? He's not leaving.
No, if he wins the league, he's not leaving.
Pranav Jadhav says, no complaints about any player today. We lost in the first leg, and today's tactics against Arsenal mid-block were stale. Hopefully it's adios, Carlo. Yeah, that's also a point. I don't even feel comfortable saying, at least we went down fighting and we fought today. Because I don't care that we fought today. We lost this. This is 7 months of this bullshit.
Yeah.
So we can't sit here and pretend that we could even be 1% impressed that they
no, we're not proud
for one game. No,
we should not be proud.
Yeah, but I guess even if we went down more closer 2013 where we actually played better and we almost came back and we scored 2 goals.
That happens.
Okay, you can argue semifinals. You get that far. You played well. This was if we went down fighting today, I would not have been proud. No one would have applauded. I would not have cared.
The Bernabeu didn't applaud the players at the end of the game either. They didn't whistle either. It was just complete indifference towards the players and the team. Yeah.
Alberto says, big picture, if Vinny doesn't extend his deal this summer, do you think he could be sold?
I don't think so. I think he's grown into this big role in Real Madrid. So no.
FG says, I believe this Arsenal defense can stop PSG. Inter versus Arsenal in the final. I hate PSG and Barca so much. Us not winning could be worse if they win.
I don't care who wins as long as it's not Barca. I would rather have Inter winning. That would be like my preference, but it's not like I'm going to lose any sleep over Inter against between Inter and Barca. Obviously, I mean, I'm not losing any sleep about that, but I'll definitely be supporting Inter. But it's not like I will be paying so close attention to PSG versus Arsenal, for example. I don't care. I just don't.
I still have Inter beating Barca. I think also Barcelona have looked a little bit more mortal in the last month or so. Inter are extremely well drilled.
Yeah, they're good.
Good in transition,
Yep.
and
they're likable too.
I like Inter.
Yep.
But so I do have a question, because a lot of people seem to dislike Arsenal and their fans throughout this whole thing. I never got that impression. I had nothing but good experiences with Arsenal fans. So maybe I just don't spend enough time on Twitter to see the more insufferable ones. But I have no issue with Arsenal fans or whatever. So I don't care if they win. If that's
me neither. I just maybe the fact that Arteta is one of Guardiola's proteges, if you will. Yeah.
Adar Zalukovic says Madrid ran 8.5 kilometers less in this game. Wow, is that true? That's crazy. First, like I could see that
they might actually have like a defense and an excuse because they kind of dominated the ball and the possession. So maybe tonight makes a little bit more sense, but it's still a big discrepancy. Yeah.
Ancelotti. Now we're fighting for the league title. Copa del Rey final, Club World Cup. To change the dynamic, we needed something positive, like the penalty that was awarded and then withdrawn. We needed something to give us more confidence. We weren't able to change the dynamic of the first leg. The tie was decided in the first leg.
Pretty bad when you admit that you need like help from or external factors, really.
I mean, I think what he's basically saying that is we were helpless and we needed something to switch it for us.
Maybe the problem is the fact that you were helpless, but yeah, sure. Like address the first issue and not the fact that the referee made a mistake. Try to correct and fix the first issue and the initial issue, which is that you are not playing football the right way. And that way you will not be relying on the referee not making mistakes.
Yeah.
You have the talent at your disposal to play better, man. Just come on, man.
Those were okay, so those were the Movistar quotes. Here are the press conference or maybe
I don't know what's about my future and I don't want to know, he says.
Those are press conference quotes?
No, same about Movistar.
I think Movistar. I don't know. Has he even speaking? There's no way he hasn't spoken.
He's spoken like right now, I think.
Okay. Okay. Jeff says, "Gotta take our SCs sooner, and let it guide your notes." What's SC? Oh, super chat. Yeah, maybe. To be honest, I just like to get our own analysis out of the way and then save the interactions with you guys later. It just helps to make sure we get our analysis across first. Jay Oscar says Rodrigo way too inconsistent, but Alonso in. Xabi Alonso. JD Foster says we need an actual striker. Mbappe is not that. Someone like Osimhen, a target man. It would help our wingers and fullbacks. Self-Fran, he's useless. But so it's not that this is an invalid statement or opinion to have, but I'm talking. I need to understand. We need to understand the reality that you're not. Mbappe is here now. So what are you going to do for the next 5 years? You have to figure it out with him.
Yep.
So what are you going to do?
So you either sell Vinicius or sell Mbappe. I don't know. I think it's pretty hard for them both to coexist, if I'm being honest.
I still think it's possible.
Okay. The,
But it
the
needs
the
a
main
new
issue
director.
the main issue for me, I just read it on Twitter, and I completely agree with it, is that Florentino decided to sign Mbappe without replacing the Kroos and Modric partnership, or the defensive injuries, the injuries on defense.
Well, I
It's just
think
it's just a Makelele mistake in 2025,
yeah,
man.
but I think part of it is that Florentino doesn't know enough about football to know
Sure.
what profile like this needs. So in his mind, he's like, I have Camavinga and Fede Valverde, and I have Tchouameni and Jude Bellingham, and so I have my replacements for Cruz. That's probably how he thinks. He's not looking at like he's not looking at player profiles, and that's not his job. Like someone has to come in and tell him like Florent. You remember when we sold Makaleli, the whole thing that he said was we replaced a player who can only pass like 12 yards with someone who can pass 30 yards, which is David Beckham, which obviously like makes no sense. Like, what that just like don't say anything, please.
Zero ball knowledge.
But this is why he has a support structure of Jose Angel Sanchez and Juni Calafat to do the scouting and the football side of things. Of course, he will have the ultimate say though, because he's the one who's bringing someone Mbappe and talking about him publicly every day. But you need also the next thing he needs is to make sure is that someone. Okay, let me try to verbalize this. Let's say somebody. This is a totally made up name. I'm not saying this is our next coach, but it came to my mind because Diego told me like, hey, according to my sources, that Real Madrid actually are trying to get Klopp, and I was like, okay, I never heard that, but let's just in theory, Klopp comes in. If somebody like Jurgen Klopp came in, he should have a say over all the signings, over how to build the squad, and
Should be making them
everything
even.
else. What's that? He
He
should be
should be
making.
making them,
Yeah.
like deciding them. Not only final say. Like he
Yeah.
should be given the power to say, I want these players, sign it.
Yes. Exactly. He shouldn't like. He can't. You cannot like bring in Jurgen Klopp and treat him like Ancelotti and be like, whatever we give
Yep.
you, just tell the press you're happy.
Yep.
Like no. Like he needs to build it himself. And so whether it's Klopp or Alonso, they need to come in and intervene in these situations and have a
Dare I
say.
say that should be every single coach's role as well,
Yes.
for any like
Yes.
credible football structure.
You're correct. But I think some organizations, including Real Madrid, struggle with doing that
Yeah, I
because
know.
they know that coaches are transitory.
Yeah,
And for example, if you don't have a solid foundation and you're going to flip through three coaches
yeah.
in 1 year, which we did recently with Lopetegui,
Mm-hmm.
Solari, and Zidane, with three coaches who are vastly different from each other, they will want three different things. And so that then you need to get into the delicate balance of having your guy and trusting him long term and having patience with him. Actually, an interesting example, and I don't want to I don't want to copy this model necessarily. That's not what I'm saying, because these are two different football clubs. But Arsenal, the team that just beat us, they went through some horrible growing pains with Arteta. Horrible. If Arteta went through what he went through at Real Madrid, he would have never had the opportunity to see it through. Like no chance, he would have been gone, right? So the other
Mm-hmm.
thing is like if you get your guy long term, you also have to let him build it and be patient with it, which is not something that happens at Real Madrid. So that's why I think there's a struggle with the implementation of giving full power to managers for that reason.
I agree. Completely agree.
Thank you for this super chat, Raj. Appreciate that. Prince Arthur says playing gambling football never yielded anything except anxiety and desperation. Playing team football is the best. Perez in, Carlo out. DM Dilio says, who do you guys ideally want to coach Real Madrid next? If they had coached this team this year, do you think the team would have advanced?
I think I'd rather have Alonso than Klopp.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's more of an exciting choice if you ask me.
Yeah.
The other thing I will say is this question of if we had them this year, would we have advanced? I don't know the answer to that, obviously, but I can say.
You wouldn't be playing. You wouldn't be facing Arsenal in the quarterfinals.
What do you mean?
Real Madrid would have done better in the group stage,
Oh,
and the
yeah, I
draw
see what
would
you're
have
saying.
been different.
Yeah, yeah. I understand what you're saying. But the other thing, so maybe we would have been eliminated in the quarterfinals or not. Maybe we would have won it. Maybe we would have advanced. Maybe we would. I don't know. But what I
You
do
would be
know,
having so much fun in every single
yes,
game.
what I do know for 100% certainty, even though I can't prove it, it is unassailably factually true. We would have been better than this what we have shown this season.
Absolutely, no question.
Undeniably true.
Yep.
Stig Olsen says, "What realistic choice of manager could we see in Madrid? Raul, Xabi Alonso, anyone else?" Well, I don't like. I think. I mean, do we have anything else to say about managers? There's actually a lot of super chats about managers. Maybe I'll just go through them and then you just pop up if you need to pop up.
Go ahead.
Jin Simp says, "Need a new manager and fullbacks and then lift trophies." Emmanuel says, "Cruz was the coach. Board is to blame." Raj says, "Can you depend crosses when none of the forwards can head?" Nope. In fact, I remember distinctly two headers that one was on Mbappe's head and another one on Endrick's head, and they both had no chance. It's just not their strengths. It's not that they're bad players, but that's not in their skill set really. Stagnick says, "Big up Lucas and Keon. Can we have Lucas more regularly? Always so honest and speaks from the heart. Also, the technical level of our squad is a bit worrying." Well, some great news about that, actually. Lucas, tell everyone about your new segments if they don't know about it yet.
Well, guys, I'm doing a new segment called Madrid Mornings, the morning after each and every single Real Madrid game. Right now, I think I've recorded 3 episodes of that. It's be me by myself, like for 20-25 minutes. Again, the morning after every Real Madrid game. So tomorrow we'll have a new episode. We'll upload that as a free episode for everyone. Right now, I believe the plan is to maybe in the like short term make it only for Patreons, but tomorrow's episode you'll get it for free. So I encourage you to tune in if you are interested in this segment, and obviously if you enjoy it, I would also like encourage you, and we would appreciate the whole team if you would become a Patreon to keep supporting the show. Thank you,
It's
Sagni, by the way,
great.
for the words.
The feedback on the episodes have been great. So I would urge everyone to go over to patreon.com/managing Madrid. Or just hit join on the YouTube memberships tab on this channel. Also, tomorrow we got everyone coming. So it's me and Lucas and Leah and Matt and Angelo. The 5 of us are going to do a big picture episode tomorrow for members only. So if you want access to that, make sure you're a member. All right. Miggs says we need a competent sporting director or a head coach able to put his foot down. Otherwise, Florentino is going to continue making the same mistakes that he did post 2003. I think a proper 9 is needed, even if it's a Joselu 2.0 coming off the bench. The age-old sporting director debate, which pops up after every Champions League elimination, just based on every year that I've been doing this podcast, almost every time we get eliminated from the Champions League, the discussion about the sporting director comes up again. So thank you for this generous super chat as well, Migs. Do you have any thoughts on this, Lucas?
Juni Calafat and Jose Angel Sanchez are the club's sporting directors. Whether we agree with that or not is an entirely different discussion. I believe a sporting director should work more closely with the coach than Real Madrid is doing at the moment. But even though they are not the sporting directors like officially in the team's like hierarchy, they act as them. They negotiate the transfer and they kind of try to implement their vision for the club in terms of the future and all that. Whether we like that or not is an entirely different discussion, but they are acting as sporting directors.
Yeah, the sporting director at Real Madrid is a tricky one. It almost deserves its own episode on its own, and it's hard to do justice to this question, I think, or this statement. But I think a sporting director at Real Madrid, the reason it's tricky is because Real Madrid have always been a club that wants to sign the best players in the world, and a lot of it is based on their name and their marketability and who Florentino wants. And having a sporting director means that you already agreed that if you're a sporting director, you're going to get signings that are out of your control. People are going to be brought to this club, whether you recommend them or not, no matter what. And so, based on that, I think it's a little bit tricky to have a proper framework that exists. For example, at I don't know, uh, at Liverpool, or you think about like the people like Michael Edwards or Jose Luis Campos. Previously
Monchi in the past, yeah.
Monchi. Previously for us, we had Jorge Valdano, and ultimately
Saki
Mourinho.
even for a few years.
Saki. And ultimately, remember, like the Valdano Mourinho won that battle. Mourinho
Feud,
basically
yeah.
kicked Valdano out. So this is just like scratching the surface here, but a sporting director at Real Madrid is a little bit tricky for some of those reasons.
I think it should
Raj,
be the coach. It should be like up to the coach to make these
yeah,
signings. As
it
long as
should
the
be
coach
really
is a decent and competent one, and
the
one you have
sporting.
faith in.
Yeah, the sporting director basically should be a combination of it's a consultation between really intelligent people who are on the same page, which is not possible at Real Madrid for some reasons. But really, if you had like Alonso, it should be Alonso dictating the squad. It should be, Juni Calafat working closely with him to like be like, hey, we have these under the radar guys too as well. Like, do you think we could use them in the squad? And it's just like it's a conversation of really intelligent people, and then Florentino should write the check. But
Yep.
but also Florentino will come to Xavi and be like, hey, we have a chance to sign Erling Haaland this year, so you're gonna have to incorporate them. That's also gonna happen.
Oh, and by the way, Kroos is retiring, and we are
Yeah,
not going to replace him.
yeah. And your new Joselu is now a 4 foot
Hendrik.
Brazilian kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rajan says Eric Ten Hag is an example manager you don't give power to. Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, anyway. Like in the moment, if you bring in Eric Ten Hag, which Manchester United had to have to give him the keys in that situation in the beginning, and then you find out later he sucks. But you know, um, Karan says, "Do you think we move to a back three with Alonso, or does he adapt to our squad?"
Very good question. I would say that it's nearly impossible for a Real Madrid coach to implement a back three system, considering the circumstances, the media, the fan base, everything. I think a Real Madrid coach will kind of be forced to implement like a traditional back four at this club. Obviously, in some special circumstances, injuries, suspensions, all that, no problem. But the main formation, I think, Alonso will kind of be forced by the media, by the whole sphere surrounding Real Madrid, the fan base, all that, to play with a traditional backline.
Well, it all depends if he's winning or not, really. Like if he comes in and
Well, yeah,
he's just blowing teams out of the water, no,
sure,
even the most shameless journalist is not going to write
sure,
should Xabi Alonso play traditional,
sure.
four at the back or not. I don't know. This question comes up quite a bit, and I don't really know the answer to it. But generally, like what I think is that like he might come to this squad and come with a different solution based on the needs of the squad, and might not play that way. It's very
Sure.
possible.
That would mean that he's a flexible coach who can adapt to different
Yeah,
contexts, and that's what you want.
which you have to be. Yeah,
Because
at Real
with the
Madrid.
current squad, I think you need like two signings in the defensive line in order to kind of implement a back three as your main system. There's no way you can play consistently with a back three with the current depth in defense. Like no way. You need like at least two signings for the center
Yeah,
back spot.
yeah.
So yeah,
You also have to think about the fact that
different
there's like
profiles, everything. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
and there's
just
the fact that there are some untouchables in the squad that you have to start. So you have to start
yep,
Mbappe and Vinny and Bellingham and Fede and all that stuff. And um, who are your wide wing backs? You know, it's an
well, one
interesting
would be
question.
Alexander Arnold if he's obviously signed, but yeah,
Yeah,
that would not be an issue there. But I think it's nearly impossible because of the untouchables you mentioned, the press, everything. The untouchables point is really important. There are at least like 4 or 5 untouchable players, and when you're starting to have 4 or 5 untouchable players, and they are usually attackers or at least attacking midfielders, it's extremely tough to play with three at the back. So yeah, I think it won't happen.
Mr. Sushi 22 says, "Can Nico Paz become the new Tony Cruz?"
Tall task, but according to Totti, he can. Did you read the
According to
quotes?
Totti.
Yeah, Totti praised him in the Italian press. I think it was today,
And he
saying that he can be a starter for Real Madrid for a long time. So yeah,
yeah, I mean, but the Cruz profile is the question. I
the profile, yeah. Mm.
I'm at this realization, not that I've come to it now, but I mean, ever since Cruz retired, it's been clear like you don't just bring in the next Tony Cruz. Like it doesn't
It doesn't
exist.
exist.
Not in
Yeah,
the market.
no.
So the question is, and all these questions have, there's dominoes to all these, like based on what you answer. So if the question originally was, should Real Madrid try to bring in Florian Wirtz? And I saw reports say that Manchester City are going to dish it out for him. I don't know. But let's say if you bring in Florian Wirtz because Xabi wants to bring him over, the question is like, should you be spending all that money on Florian Wirtz when you can literally just bring back Nico Paz instead?
Right.
And then if you do, neither Wirtz nor Nico Paz are Tony Cruz type players either. They're more dynamic attacking players who can press, but they're not going to be slowing the tempo down in a deeper role. Could Nico Paz develop into this? Again, we've only talked about this. To me, it'll circle back to Jude Bellingham. A new coach needs to come in and find a better use of Jude Bellingham to put him in his proper role where he's not overexerting and he can actually control things.
I agree.
And then you can maybe fit in Nico Paz ahead of Jude Bellingham if you want.
You should not be trying to
Or-
find a cross replacement in terms of profile. Same as you didn't try to find a Marcelo replacement in terms of profile. You found a way to build a new team and create a new and efficient team without these two unique, like unicorns in world football. It's just impossible to find a cross replacement. You just find a new way to build your midfield. And by the way, breaking news: this is not it. So yeah, you need to work again on building a new midfield.
Yeah.
And not only in terms of names, by the way, also in terms of the way they play, the way they complement each other, everything.
Raj says, absolutely love this pod. The OGs, Lucas, heart emoji. JD Foster says, what would your formation and Gala starting 11 be next season if we get Trent, Huijsen, Wirtz, or Nico and Miguel, along with Xabi, both Keon and Lucas? Wow, we got to put pen to paper now, bro.
I'm already seeing like 6 names here in the 5 names in the question plus a coach. So yeah, that's not going to happen, JD. I can tell you that much.
Well, I think it'll be interesting. I mean, JD, it's really hard to answer super chats like this on the fly when we haven't really put much thought to it, to be quite honest with you. I mean, it's good. We can thrive under pressure and put out an answer for you. It might not be the most well thought out answer, but off the top of my head, if you had Xabi and you had all these players, it would be something like Courtois, Trent, Dean plus Rudiger or Asensio, Miguel left back. Or or hold on, this is why it's hard to answer, but maybe it would actually be something like this. You go a 3 at the back with Asensio, Rudiger, and Dean. Trent, right wing back, and Miguel, left wing back. And Jude, Fede, Mbappe, Vinny, Wirtz. Did I use one extra player?
I was trying to count. You said Courtois, the 5 at the back, so that's 6. You said Bellingham and Valverde, that's 8. And who else you said? Mbappe, Vinicius, and Wirtz. So yeah, you're right. You're right. You got 11. Makes sense. It's a good lineup to me. I'm not sure about the midfield with Valverde and Bellingham together. Maybe you would need another midfielder there, but it makes sense to me.
Muhammad Inua says, I'm losing my mind right now. Please, Muhammad, we need you. Tomorrow when you wake up, you're going to have the best day of your life. You're going to wake up. You're going to have a productive day. You're going to go work out. You're going to listen to some good audiobooks. You're going to listen to some good music to pump you up. You're going to hang out with your friends. You're going to play some football. You're going to let off some steam. This is not in your control. Uh, ANC3D says Ancelotti lost 5-1 on aggregate twice now. City and Arsenal. The losses are embarrassing. No middle ground with this coach.
Yep, I agree.
We're just nodding our heads in agreement for those of you listening on Spotify. Cousin Braja Girth says, shout out my boys, Amir, Chan, Spencer, Jonah, LG, and Sina. Tough one today for all Madrid. Says, we'll be back soon. I love this. The use of super chats to shout out your friends. I support it.
Awesome.
Uh,
Camaraderie here.
Muhammad says, do you think they can sack Carlo before the morning?
No chance. Zero.
Just at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Is the way I see it.
Yeah.
There's not really any point doing it now. It's more of an end of season thing.
You could do it tomorrow. I think it will help the team a little. At least for the Copa del Rey final. Just
anyway,
a little.
Yeah, just to be clear, if you're going to do it anyway, just might as well do it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I was.
I just don't think the club will do it that way.
No, it won't happen. It won't happen, but it would actually make sense.
Yeah, but remember what I told you in the mailbag. If he goes tomorrow, then it's Raul who comes, and Raul's not going anywhere in the summertime.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's also a reason maybe not to do it.
Yep.
Miggs says, if the front three can't coexist, who do you sell? The more polyvalent Rodrigo or the higher ceiling Vinny? We know Mbappe isn't going anywhere unless he's suddenly unhappy. Also, who would you sign as a deep playmaker / regista?
To me, Rodrigo doesn't belong in the same breath as Vinicius and Mbappe. So I would definitely sell Rodrigo.
The question would be, because I don't buy into this whole sell Vinny thing based on this bad season. I've said that many times. I think he's a Ballon d'Or level player. This is a blip. We'll bounce back stronger next season. The question would really be not would you rather sell Rodrigo or Vinicius? The question would be, would you rather sell Vinicius for 1 billion or Rodrigo for 85 million?
Mm-hmm. I would go for Vinicius in that one.
Yeah.
About the deep playmaker, I would go for Varela, but it's not going to happen. So yeah.
Claude says, would you take McAllister at Real Madrid?
I wouldn't. Very similar profile to Valverde. And Valverde is better. No, doesn't move the needle for me.
I agree. Mohammed says, what do you make of converting Bellingham to striker?
Then where do you play Mbappe? On the right? Kind of wasting his talents a little bit. I've been thinking about this, as I'm sure Ancelotti has as well. Putting Mbappe on the right makes no sense to me. Putting Vinicius on the right makes no sense to me. So yeah.
There's two players I think we're misusing. And one is Jude, one is Fede.
Mm-hmm.
These guys should be dominating midfields together for years.
Mm-hmm.
One more. Oh, I think we're caught up on super chats. 39 super chats. Thank you guys.
Awesome.
Seriously, it means a lot. I don't know what's going on in the comments. I don't know if it's anarchy and lawlessness or it's well behaved, but either way, hopefully it's all good. Alberto says, what about moving Fede back to right wing, Ceballos and Tchouaméni in midfield with Jude? I feel like this goes back all the way to what we were saying in the beginning of the podcast. Under Carlo, it really doesn't matter what is on the field. It just is all chaotic nonsense because I guess Fede right wing, what would excite me about that is just getting him back in attacking positions, man, because he can do so much damage there, and he just doesn't. He's just defending.
Are we talking about next season?
I am. I don't know.
Yes, because for this season it would mean Lucas Vázquez on the right back spot, and that's an automatic no.
I just cannot believe with the season on the line, we just had Fede playing right back basically, and Vázquez relying on Vázquez on offense. It made no sense. 2025, man.
Incredible stuff, yeah.
Like 4 super chats came in after I said that was the last one. Carlos says, I don't see a point in Carlo finishing this season as we somehow are in the fight for the Copa del Rey and kind of La Liga, and we already know the starting 11 for those important matches. Yeah, I agree with this. I think, and I agree with this in large part because I do believe the new manager bounce is a real thing. It's like there's studies on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if Raul comes in and gives the team a jolt in like just a defibrillator and just revives us a little bit for like the last month of the season, why not? If you're gonna let Ancelotti out at the end of the season anyway, so why prolong it? But again, it really depends. If you already have like Chabi lined up, for example, then you probably just want to wait until the end of the season in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Albion Sokoli says Carlos bad, but this team is so unbalanced.
I agree.
Yeah, I think
Florentino and the squad construction shouldn't escape or get
Yeah.
away with it. Yeah.
Basil Adil says, keep your head up, boys. We go again next year. Thank you for everything, managing Madrid squad. You guys are the best. Appreciate
Thank you,
man. Thank
Basil.
you so much. Thank you so much. We will be back actually tomorrow. So what time did we say? 6:00?
Yeah, 6 o'clock Spain time. Yeah,
6:00 Spain time, which is 12
that's
p.m.
noon Eastern. Yeah,
Noon Eastern. Me and Lucas and Leah and Angelo and Matt, the five of us are going to log on for our members and talk about more big picture stuff and aftermath. And we're going to be very interact with the listeners. That's only for members. Head on over to patreon.com/managing Madrid. Alternatively, you can hit join on the YouTube memberships tab. There should be a join button right underneath this video if you're on browser. Lucas, you're also doing a Leah Desquest tomorrow, right?
yeah. Madrid mornings in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. That's also for members. One more super chat at the buzzer. Mig says, on the plus side, now is the best time to go into EAFC career mode and go wild. Halamari, this is easily the worst Madrid in 15 plus years, and we still made it this far thanks for the streams, guys.
I would just add that it shouldn't be the worst Madrid in 15 plus years, based on time. Yeah, but it is.
If you told us this in the summertime, man, I would not have believed you at all.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah. All right. Lucas and I were speaking before the podcast started, and our plan was like, hey, man, listen, because we're doing such a big podcast tomorrow, let's do 30 minutes and done. And here we are, 1 hour and 12 minutes later, and Lucas's bedtime was about 1 hour ago. We're going to let him go. We're going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you for all the therapy sessions with us, and thank you to Lucas. Thank you to all the Managing Madrid people. Thank you to I wanted to get really emotional and start thanking a bunch of people, but we'll just wait till the end of the season for that. But yeah, this was a poor Real Madrid season. One to forget. In the books, this Champions League, it's done. And now we focus on the league and Copa and really big picture discussion because this team is not good enough. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Lucas. Peace out. See you tomorrow for members. Halamari.